love by chance you choose. Do you really believe that? Do you really believe that we choose, or you don't, Chris? Okay, you're so sure of that.
We have a lot of discussion about this.
I'm interested because I mean, sometimes I agree with that, and then most of the time, but do we really?
I think you can choose not to.
You can choose not to fall in love?
I don't think you can choose to fall in love with someone.
Yeah. Okay.
I think what I mean by it is that you can choose to pursue it. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, sometimes you don't do, and sometimes you do. Mm-hmm. And but ultimately, I almost think you do make a decision to fall in love. Mm-hmm. I think you mentally release yourself from some kind of instinctive emotional control that you have. And I think you're prepared to give everything to someone.
Yeah.
And that's what love is. Mm-hmm. And you do really make a decision to do that. You do that, of course, because of the attraction, the person, the whole thing. But I think there is a level of decision there. And also I think, because we talked about this a lot, and Chris said, I think maybe it's like more like that when you get older. And I think maybe it is.
Mm-hmm. What about the song Here? I mean, Here to me is also a very important song about sometimes that dream that you've, sort of fantasized about going on in your head for so many years has actually occurred, but somehow you're blinded and you don't even realize that, hey, there's something terrific happening right now in your life, and you just didn't see it.
Yeah, well, this song actually, it sounds very personal, and it was actually written for our musical. We did a musical in London last year.
Which I want to,
Closer to Heaven. Mm-hmm. And the character, the lead guy in the musical, who's come from Ireland and works in a club in London, he's decided he's going to go back to Ireland and give up the whole thing. He can't stand it. Mm. And the idea was that the guy around the club sung this song to him where he's saying, actually, you make sense in this place. You've got a home here, but you just take it for granted, you don't realise. Yeah. And it changes his mind. And for various dramatic reasons, it got cut out of this musical. And Chris and I always loved this song, so we said, oh, great, we put it on our album. And it fits in.
Yes, it does, absolutely.
On the emotional journey of the album, because it is possible to just take your life for granted, really, and not to realise that a relationship with someone is kind of a home. Mm-hmm. It's staring you in the face, you're not seeing it.
You also say that we make mistakes. We all make a mess of our lives from time to time, and it's part of the process that you stumble as you climb. I like that phrase. You realize, guys, I'm going to be quoting that one. But it's true. I mean, we do those things, but it's hard while it's happening.
Tell me why don't we try not to break our hearts and make it so hard for ourselves? Let's break
You didn't always like to perform live. I mean, that was something that you waited before you did. You were asked often to perform, and you said, yeah, you know what, I don't think we really want to do that. How do you feel about the live experience now? Is it a different world for you now, getting up on stage? I mean, do you appreciate that experience
more?
Well,
in the beginning, we didn't know how we could play live, because the way we made records in the studio, we thought it would be very difficult to replicate on stage. And actually, it took us a long time before we had the mechanism for doing that. In fact, our manager didn't know how to help us either, and in the end he managed Bros. And it was only when Bros came along that he got a tour manager involved, and he knew how to do it. So we that was one of the things. And also we met our programmer, Pete Gledler. Was it Pete Gledler who eventually toured with us? And he kind of worked out a way for us to do it, because we didn't want to compromise the electronic side of it. We didn't want to just sort of get a band together and perform the songs. We wanted them to sound like the record. Right. So that took a while. And also we were more interested in making records than we were playing live. And after a while it was great, because we managed to do 2 albums before we toured, and it became a special event and everything. And having said since then, we've really got to enjoy playing live.
Absolutely, and you guys obviously, you met in an electronic shop. You're obviously a fan of all the electronic stuff available. I'm just wondering how you feel today. I mean, there's been such an explosion and such an availability of all this electronic equipment. I mean, are you this big a fan of all this stuff, or are you just oversaturated?
There's so much good electronic stuff. The hardware, there's lots of hardware. Yeah. But finding the software is the problem, finding the music or whatever that you want to play on it. There's lots of formats now.
Do you find that life for you guys right now, success has changed over the years? Has the definition of it's changed for you over the years? Does it mean something
I think,
else today?
You know, pop music is a very tough thing
Yes.
to be in, and the Pet Shop Boys have survived in it by, as I said earlier, by following our own instincts. But you're conscious of survival and commercial success, coming and going, all the rest of it, and you have to accept that. You really, really have to accept that. And
God bless you. God bless you, Chris.
tap blossom outside. And I think that's something that I like to confront. There's a song on the album called "The Samurai in Autumn."
Yes, yes.
And the title of the song came from a review of our show in Germany. 'Cause on the last show, we were wearing all these wigs and things, and Japanese-style costumes. And the headline was "The Samurai in Autumn." And I thought they were talking about we were in the autumn of our career or something. And I just wrote this. It's got one little lyric. "It's not as easy as it was, or as difficult as it could be, for the samurai in autumn." And it's true that when you first become successful, it's kind of really easy. You don't have to do everything. You come to Canada and your record's #2 in the charts.
Right.
And you know, when you've been 16 years later, you know, it's not as easy as that. But at the same time, it's great. We've got an audience all over the world. We have an incredible amount of artistic freedom. And you know, it's good being in the Pet Shop Boys now.
It's interesting to note that one thing that I've always felt about the work that you both have done together is that there was very little fear. You did what you felt was right. Now, you kept saying, you know, a moment ago that you trusted your instinct. Is that because you just knew that it was right, or was it naivete that made you trust what you felt? I mean, there was very little fear I felt in what you did. You just did it.
We just, yeah, we do what we're feeling. You know, this album's different, but it sort of captured how we're feeling. And, you know, we're not manufactured. We've not been put together by an A&R team or anything like that. You know, we've not been styled. We've not been choreographed.
Yes.
Our dance routines. And, you know, we've just done it ourselves. And it's great to be, you know, be in that position.
You know?
I think we have a sort of level of naivety about us that we don't we sometimes do things a difficult way because it seems like a more interesting way.
Yeah.
We don't tend to do things with a commercial motive. I mean, it's great when it works out commercially, but you know, we do what we feel is the right thing and is interesting and presents us in an interesting way. I mean, on this album, you know, having the guitars in this album.
Yes, which are sublime.
Yeah, there's some people, because, you know, if you look back in the 80s, you can find interviews with Chris and I saying, "Oh, we hate guitars."
That's right.
But what we really meant was, in the 80s, there was a lot of that big stadium rock was popular, and we really hated that. It's not really an issue, that now. I mean, there's always been, I mean, I've always liked Bob Dylan, for instance, and there's always been rock music we've liked, and the Beatles and David Bowie and Rolling Stones. And on this album, we decided to put more guitar on the album, but for some of our fans, they think, why? You said in 1988 you hated guitars.
That's
Well,
right.
you know, it was 1988, it's 19,
You have the
it's
right to change your
2002 now.
mind, and you're entitled to that. Yeah, and I remember that quote somewhere where you hate rock bands and you hate a whole rockabilly, except but
Yeah.
you said, as a matter of fact, you didn't like a lot of things, you said, but what you did
I still don't like a lot of things.
right, you love passionately, right? That's what you were saying, that whatever you do love or whatever you put your heart into, you do it wholeheartedly. Now you're getting up on stage, you're performing in front of crowds all over the world. Last question, is the world smaller or bigger?
It's not big enough. We need
It's
another
not.
one.
You need another one?
We need another one.
How do you feel about
Fresh
everything?
markets.
So much has changed in so little time. I mean, when you're performing today, is there a difference considering everything that, you know, the world has gone through, what we're seeing, you know, the availability of news clippets, etc., you know, non-stop news?
I think, actually, particularly since September the 11th,
Yes.
I think people have got friendlier
Yes.
and more considerate around the world. I think people think more and more about the value of life. It's just particularly in New York, where we literally just came from this today. You know, you really feel that it feels like barriers have been broken down there between, you know, communities or whatever. And it seems like a friendlier sort of place, a more considerate sort of place, rather than, there's still the brusque New Yorker kind of thing when you're ordering a sandwich or something, but it sort of seems a lot more considerate. I think a lot of the world seems more like that now.
You happy, both of you? You're feeling good where you're at right now?
Well, we are.
You are?
Yeah.
That's good. That's listen, that's not so easy all the time, is it? Lord knows. That's a whole other interview, Chris. You'll have to come back. We'll do that one next time you're
That's
in
on the
town.
psychiatrist's couch,
Yeah,
that one.
so nice to have you here. I know it's a brief encounter. Pet Shop Boys avec nous. L'album porte le titre Release. C'est tout blanc, mais c'est un album dont le packaging est absolument magnifique et très soigné comme d'habitude. Donc, The Pet Shop Boys avec nous ici à Duluth, Bonne Israël. Thank you very much.
Thank you.